Fred Wellman, host of On Musk, the FP Woman, right here in the MeidasTouch Network. Man, there's some exciting stuff going on across the country, as you know. But this happened Wednesday night at a debate for the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. Check this out.
Supreme Court that set out the rules for recusal. And if I believe I cannot be fair and impartial in a case involving the Wisconsin Democratic Party, yes, I will recuse.
There are new flyers coming out from groups tied to Elon Musk that are arriving to voters' mailboxes tonight that say conservative Brad Schimmel will support President Trump's agenda. Is that true?
I have no control over whatever any outside group does. I will enforce the law. I will apply the law the way the legislature has written it. If President Trump or anyone defies Wisconsin law and I end up with a case in front of me, I'll hold them accountable as I would anybody. In my courtroom, I have individuals come in that sometimes are supporters of me, sometimes are people that don't like me. It doesn't make any difference. I've had political cases in my civil courtroom. It makes no difference who's in front of me. In the courtroom, my personal views are irrelevant, and President Trump's personal views are irrelevant.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That's conservative Brad Schimmel. I gotta tell you, that's a great answer. Maybe he said something differently before. How about a month ago?
The people who voted on November 5th because they were excited about a movement for America, who don't see why they should vote again for April 1st. Right. They don't understand that there's more to it. That it wasn't just about that Donald Trump doesn't do this by himself. There has to be a support network around him. And that, they filed over 70 lawsuits against him since he took the oath of office barely a month ago. Over 70 lawsuits to try to stop almost every single thing he's doing because they don't want him to get a win. They're so desperate for him to not get a win that they won't let America have a win. That's what they're doing. And the only way we're going to stop that is if the courts stop it. That's the only place to stop this lawfare. And
wow. So Donald Trump needs a support network, and the only place to stop the attacks on his agenda are the courts. That's a lot different than saying, hey, if anything comes up having to do with Trump, I'm going to recuse. And that's the state of that race right there. And it says it all, doesn't it? But there's more. There's a lot more. And we're going to examine that today's show, because a lot of you have been saying to me for a long time since election day, Fred, what can I do? How can I get involved? The midterms are so far away. And I told you then that 2025 was an election year. Well, folks, it's really an election year. April 1st, Wisconsin, they're having a special election for Supreme Court that'll decide the ideological balance of that court all the way through 2028. And those two folks you saw at the top are running. Susan Crawford, who's a progressive, and you've got Brad Schimmel, who's running as a conservative, and they're backed by the various parties. But the money that's flowing into this race is staggering. You saw it on the screen. $59 million has flown into this race. But a lot of that money is coming from somebody, well, you might recognize him, and it's a ton of money. Well, you may have seen him this week doing, well...
These cars won incredible awards. So they're great cars and they're American made. And I think, try it. You'll like it.
And I should say, beyond the cars, they're great. But we have to celebrate somebody that has the courage to do this. He could have said, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to get involved. Let the country go to hell. He didn't want to do that. And remember, he's going to find, and we're up to almost $500 billion worth of waste and fraud. And if it was $500 billion, we give him $2 billion here, $2 billion there, not millions. It was a bet. If it was $1 million or $2 million, that's a lot of money. But we're talking about billions of dollars being given to...
That's enough of that. I can't listen to that bullshit any longer. But that was the Tesla sales event at the White House. Obviously illegal if you know anything about the Hatch Act, but that doesn't seem to ever stop anybody in the Trump administration from doing anything. But that's Elon Musk trying to sell cars because they're great and they're American made. But here's a funny thing. Wisconsin has a law that says that manufacturers can't own dealerships in Wisconsin. Funny, right? Well, guess where Elon Musk has dropped almost $13 million to sway that Supreme Court race? Wisconsin. So a lot to talk about. I've got the great guest, like I always have the perfect guest for these things. Let's get on with the show. Again, I am Fred Wellman, host of On Musk, the FP Wellman. You're right here on the MeidasTouch Network and our Substack. I can't wait to have this discussion. You're going to love it too, I think. Let's get on with the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am still Fred Well, as I mentioned before the music. This is On Democracy, the F2 Woman. Right now, exclusively on the MeidasTouch Network every Friday night. I'm so glad you're here to have us. Always a pleasure to see the Midas money. Also, we're adding our Substack, folks, in the On Democracy Substack. Just love seeing you guys here, so thanks for joining us. You know, we have our first chance to send a message to President Musk and his car salesman, Donald Trump. And it's a lot sooner than you realize. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we've got special elections happening across the country as early as April 1st. It's what, March 14th. So time is coming on. And the real battle, a real battle, is unfolding in Wisconsin for a special election for the Supreme Court. Now, the race has been nationalized in a lot of ways as Elon Musk is pouring an insane amount of money into the race, along with the Democrats. I'm joined today by Mother Jones National Voting Rights reporter and author, Ari Berman. Ari, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here. Welcome to On Democracy, my friend.
Great to see you. Thanks so much for having me.
So you wrote a great piece, and you've been tracking this race more than anybody. I think you've written 3 pieces on this race. Now we're getting close to it. You know, one thing I say a lot, Ari, is that you know we've got our chance. There are chances sooner than the midterms, right? To send a message to Trump and Musk, and this is a big one right now, isn't it?
It is. It's a huge race. It would have been a big race even before Musk got involved, because the Wisconsin Supreme Court is really important, not just for Wisconsin, but nationally, because it's going to rule on things like gerrymandered maps that have national significance, things like potentially whether or not to overturn an election. Remember, this was the same court that came 1 vote short of overturning the 2020 election. So it would have been important before Musk got involved. But the fact that Musk has, as we're talking, dropped $12 million into this race already, which is a record for one donor giving money to a Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, really ups the stakes, because it shows that his plan for oligarchy is not just focused on Washington, it's focused in the states as well. It's a lot cheaper to buy the states than it is to try to buy the federal government. And so this is the first tangible chance for Democrats to defeat him at the ballot box. There's things they can do right now. They can protest, they can try to resist in lots of different ways, but they don't actually have real power in Washington. They have real power in the states. If the Musk-backed candidate is defeated, that will send a signal that Musk and by extension Trump are not invincible, that oligarchy is not inevitable, and that they can actually be defeated at the ballot box. So I think it's a very important test case coming pretty quickly after November.
Yeah, and you know, it seems like it's gotten mixed national attention, to be honest with you. It's not on the radar. Do you think that's because of a little bit of shell shock from November 4th still? I mean, you know, even in your own article, you mentioned that there's still even a low amount of information about the 2 candidates, even within Wisconsin. I mean, do you think people are kind of still spinning? We really need to bring their attention quickly to the fact that this election is occurring in just 2 weeks, right?
For sure. I mean, I think people are assuming, okay, the election just happened in November.
Right.
Dems are in lots of different states of depression, rage, anguish, sometimes all 3 at the same time. And they're thinking, like you said in your intro, okay, we can mobilize for the midterms, right? And they're not thinking there's an election in April. It's weird to have an election in April 2025. It's not a normal thing. But this is an unexpected opportunity for Democrats to channel their anger into action, not just in Wisconsin, but nationally, because this is a race that a lot of Wisconsinites don't even necessarily know that much about. So if people donate money, if people phone bank, if people go knock on doors, that goes a lot further in a state Supreme Court election than a presidential election when people are inundated and know the candidates. People don't know who the candidates are in this race. They might not know the election's happening. They might not understand the stakes. They know Elon Musk, but they don't know that he's involved in this race. So there's a lot of information that voters need to know in a very short period of time.
Well, tell me about the 2 candidates. I mean, you've got very different people here. Crawford, of course, it's Susan Crawford on one side, and then Schimmel, who's quite a character, Mr. MAGA. Tell our viewers about the 2 candidates and their stark differences.
Well, it's ostensibly nonpartisan, but of course the candidates are backed by the 2 parties, and these races have become more partisan over time. The Democratic-backed judge, Susan Crawford, is a judge in Madison's Dane County. She is kind of a classic liberal judge. She's not super far left, but she is in the mold of the female justices that have won recently in Wisconsin. 4 female judges are on the court right now. 3 of them won recently. And 4 progressive female judges are on the court right now. 3 of them won relatively recently, and they're all kind of in that progressive mold. The conservative-backed candidate, the one who Elon Musk is backing, Brad Schimmel, he is a former state attorney general. He is a judge in suburban Milwaukee who was appointed by Scott Walker, the former Republican governor. Yeah. He is running a much more MAGA campaign than judges usually run. Sometimes these judges run as outspoken conservatives, but they try not to get too close to political candidates. He has been an outspoken backer of Trump. He went to the inauguration, which was very odd. He has said, for example, that the insurrectionists did not receive fair trials for January 6th. He has openly said that he wanted big dark money groups to get involved on his behalf. Yeah, also very unusual. So he is basically welcoming the support of Trump and Musk. And he said he wants to nationalize the race based on the theory that he says if 60% of Trump's supporters come out, we win the race. So really, if you look at the ads Musk is running, he's basically saying Schimmel will support Trump's agenda. It's all about Trump. That's a double-edged sword, though, right? Because Trump is increasingly unpopular. Musk is very unpopular. And Wisconsin Democrats feel like the more Trump and Musk are part of the race, particularly Musk, that helps them, which is why Democrats have gone all in on tying Schimmel to Musk and basically saying Musk is now trying to buy the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Yeah, I saw your interview with Ben Wickler, and Ben's diving on that. They're literally running phone banks and ads saying this is Elon Musk judge he's trying to buy, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's smart because a lot of the issues that the court deals with are kind of abstract, right? I mean, there's there's some tangible things the court's going to deal with that people know a lot about, like a 1849 abortion ban in Wisconsin that's very unpopular, that a lot of people don't like. But at the same time, Democrats are rightly paying attention to what is happening in Washington. And so the more that you can link the unpopularity of what's happening in Washington to the unpopularity of what they want to do in the states, I think it's a more effective message. But it's also, we don't know. I mean, Ben Wickler, the chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, said to me, they don't know if it's going to work. I mean, because no one's run this campaign. This was not the campaign that was run in November, right?
No.
Kamala Harris did not run this campaign, for better or for worse. Maybe she should have, but she did not run a full-throated campaign against Elon Musk, against oligarchy, against the buying of Washington, like they're doing now. And they're saying Wisconsin's the test case. If Musk buys Washington, he's going to go state by state by state, and he's going to take away any kind of guardrails in the states that could protect against what's happening in Washington. Because if the Supreme Court is not going to stop Donald Trump, if Congress is not going to stop Donald Trump, the resistance to Trump's going to happen at the state level, right? And right now there's a progressive majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So they can protect voting rights. They can strike down gerrymandering. They can strike down abortion bans. If there's a conservative majority back on that court, particularly a far-right conservative majority, they can approve all of those things. They can open the door to overturning future elections. So it's a really scary proposition to imagine what might happen if Musk has the same amount of influence in the states as he does in Washington right now.
And he has a lawsuit pending, right? I mean, one of the cases right now, because Wisconsin law doesn't allow manufacturers to own car dealerships. Am I correct in that? So in a certain sense, he's even trying to buy the court that's going to judge in his case, possibly, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So there's ideological reasons for him to get involved, but there's also self-interest for him to get involved.
There's always self-interest for
which
that,
is
Elon
that
Musk.
He started tweeting about this race right after Tesla sued the state, and litigation is pending in state court. So there's a self-interested reason for him to be involved here. And like Ben Wickler told me, it's self-interest layered on top of the crisis of democracy, right? Which is like everything with Trump. It's blatant corruption mixed with undermining democratic norms, and it's trying to take control of democratic institutions and undermine them so that you can then give a green light for more corruption and oligarchy.
Well, and I don't think I don't think even Musk expected the backlash to what they were doing. I mean, I think there does seem, especially in the last week or two, I think of let's think about that Tesla. I'll show the video at the beginning, but I showed the video at the beginning of the Tesla car dealership on the White House lawn. I mean, I don't. Do you get a sense that since he started investing in this race and it became a race that Elon and Trump thought they'd be in a better position than they are now? I mean, I don't think any of them really expected things to crash as fast as they did they?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's why Democrats are running against Musk, because
Right.
Musk is very unpopular nationally. He's very unpopular in Wisconsin, and he's particularly unpopular among Democrats. And this is a different kind of race than a presidential election. This is
Yeah.
really about getting the base to vote. And so if Democrats turn out in large numbers, they're going to win this election.
Yeah.
Same thing with the conservative side, which is why Musk is putting so much money into trying to get Trump voters to back the conservative back candidate, Brad Schimmel. And so I think it's really important for Democrats to understand that at a time when they feel powerless and they feel angry and they feel afraid, there's something they can do tangibly. And
Right.
that will have a big impact in terms of policy in Wisconsin, but it will have major national ramifications.
Right.
If Musk is defeated in Wisconsin, it will send a signal that he can be defeated in other places as well, including in states that voted for Trump. And I think that will set Democrats up much better for the midterms, and also hopefully give their leaders a little bit more spine to say, let's actually go after this guy. Let's try to defeat him. Let's not just try to instead have this policy of appeasement or this policy of conciliation, when that's not what Democrats want, and that's not what the public wants right now.
And I think there's also a message to be sent about money in politics, right? That just because he's dropped, one guy especially is dropping 11, 12, 13 million dollars. And look, the left is in there. Obviously, George Soros. You can see the clips of Schimmel talking about George Soros. But yeah, Reid Hoffman's in there. I mean, the usual suspects have arrived. But the numbers that Elon's throwing at this, the oligarchs who are tearing up our government, this is this is shaping up much more, even like you said, ideological, what we believe our government should look like. The idea that an individual could buy it. And there's a big test to say, yeah, they've gotten more. I think your article mentioned 60% of the money has come from the right in the race, which is still like, I think in your article was 48 million as of yesterday. The article I read was like, I think Janet Batayowicz, hers was 53 million. So we're getting there now, right?
No,
but you're right.
We're getting
yeah.
I mean, and there was just another analysis that was done by this site, WisPolitics, and they used also interviews with people who are spending the money, and they basically said it's already at $59 million, which would be a record for any judicial race anywhere ever in the country. And so this is a staggering amount of money, and a staggering amount of money to spend on a judicial race when these candidates are supposed to be
nonpartisan.
I mean, it's worrisome on both sides, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
How much there? I think if there should be any race in which there's strict caps on contributions, it should be judicial elections, and we should argue whether judges should run at all. But if they do run, they should run under a very strict ethics scheme that was completely obliterated by Wisconsin Republicans. That's why it's such the Wild West for dark money. One person's money can go a long way here, because as we were talking about earlier, nearly 60% of the public doesn't know enough about Susan Crawford, the progressive nominee, to form an opinion of her. So those ads, those mailers by Musk, that can have a big impact in terms of negatively defining her. And they're running the playbook of calling her soft on crime and doing all these things and pulling out a few sentences to make it seem like she's freeing sex offenders and doing all this stuff that she didn't actually do. And so, I mean, that is the worry that Democrats and progressives have right now, is that Musk's money is going to negatively define Crawford in a way that will be difficult to be able to get around. The flip side, though, is that Musk's money is motivating people, and it's motivating people much more than they otherwise would have, because money, small donations, volunteers, national attention is coming on this race because of Musk in a way that it wouldn't otherwise. So this is going to be an interesting test case of whether the money spent by Musk is more powerful than the backlash to him. And we're not going to know the answer of that till the election.
Yeah. and it feels like momentum is building. I mean, I know there another group appeared right here on the MeidasTouch network this week. I mean, people are starting to pop up and pay attention and realize this is a chance to send a message very quickly. Are you hearing that nationally? I mean, are you seeing that across the country? People are saying, "Wait a minute, we have a chance." I mean, I guess that's one of our goals. I mean, my goal here, to be honest, is because I've been saying, I've been saying since November, whatever the day after the election. Hey, 2025 is an election year, y'all. I mean, 31 states have local elections this year, including Wisconsin and with their Supreme Court. And there's, I believe, Ohio has a Supreme Court. Obviously, Virginia and New Jersey have statewide elections, local elections, and we can talk a little bit about that. But yeah, this is a chance for those Democrats who feel like maybe they've been left out. There's a chance you can fight back super early. I mean, if you're angry now, get in the fight, right?
Yeah, and Democrats and progressives have won 3 out of the 4 last Wisconsin Supreme Court elections. So there's a playbook to run here where they've run progressive women who are accomplished judges, who are accomplished prosecutors, who have a background in interpreting the law. Those people have done really well. Republicans looked at that and they said, we need to nationalize the race. We need to get the big money in here in a way that we didn't before. And so that's what's different about this election. That's why Elon Musk got involved. That's why I would imagine you're going to see Trump get involved. That's why all that money is coming in, because that's the strategy here, is to nationalize this race. But like I said, that's a double-edged sword, because they're nationalizing it at the time when Trump's agenda is increasingly unpopular, and that the face of the nationalization is the most unpopular part of the Trump administration. So there's a lot of concern here. And if this election is going to be determined by which party turns out, you'd think that Democrats, based on the fact that they lost Wisconsin, they lost the White House, they lost the Congress, would be the most motivated to turn out, knowing that this court is going to decide the 1849 abortion ban, is going to decide the law that Scott Walker passed, taking away collective bargaining rights for unions, could decide the legality of Wisconsin's congressional maps, which could mean that Democrats have a chance to pick up 2 more congressional seats. I mean, there's a lot of national ramifications here. This is the court that's going to sit on the election results and whether to overturn them. We're in a situation now.
Because this goes to 2028, right? This will be the court making it to 2028, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we're in a situation in North Carolina, just to give you another example, where Republicans are trying to overturn a state Supreme Court race there. And it's going before the Republican-dominated courts. And Democrats might be powerless to stop Republicans from overturning that election, because Republicans have the numbers. And so that's what's at stake here. And so, I mean, people are wondering, like, what can we do? And this is something tangible that I think everyone can do. If you're in Wisconsin, but even if you're not in Wisconsin, there's ways for people to get involved beyond just sort of sitting on the couch and screaming at the TV.
Yeah, I'm not saying I do that a lot, but I do. Let's take a brief break for some sponsors, and I want to come back and talk about some other stuff that's going on in the country, since I managed to get the voting rights journalist on here, and there's other stuff going on. So we'll just take a break for our sponsors. We'll be right back. If you're like me, life moves very, very fast, and sometimes even faster these days. And the way I work out, the way I take care of myself, it's kind of hard sometimes to find the ways to relax, recharge, stay focused without overcomplicating my life even more than it already is. And I'm really fortunate to have a sponsor like Via. That's where Via comes into my life. And if you haven't tried them yet, you're really missing out. Whether you need something like to unwind or refocus or power through your day, Via is here to enhance your everyday and even your nights. So they're trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, and they're changing the game in natural wellness, in my opinion. They blend powerful, high quality hemp-derived ingredients, deliver real effect-driven benefits, and they can help you like me, maybe sleep better or focus and concentrate during the day while you're trying to work. I'm cranking out videos all day these days, or writing on my Substack. So it takes time for me to be able to help that out and find a way to relax and also focus my energies. And that's where these products that are ranging from 0 to high cannabinoid levels come in handy. And Via lets you fully customize your experience. It's very well laid out in the packaging, so you understand what you're taking and what your night. And they're going to help you support your daily wellness routine, enhance your focus and clarity, unwind, whatever you're looking for, Via has you covered. So they come with award-winning gummies, premium indoor-grown THCA flower, calming drops. I mean, there's such a range of products. And the best part of all of them is they legally ship all across the United States in discreet, direct to your door. There's no medical card required, and you're backed by a word-free guarantee. And if you're not really sure to where to start, like if you're new to it like I am, which I am, Via's got a really good product finder quiz, and it personalizes recommendations for you, tailors to your needs. It can take less than about 60 seconds to complete right on their website, which of course is viahemp.com. Now, if you want to get involved, my favorite, if you're just starting out, my favorite is the Focus Gummy. Kind of helps you work through the day with no side effects or a buzz. Tastes good. Gives me a boost to wade through all the craziness we're dealing with these days. Via is well renowned with their THC and THC-free gummies and other products. As I mentioned, it's affordable. You don't need a medical card. It's all very accessible. So here's the bottom line. If you're 21 years old, 21 plus, treat yourself to 15% off and get a free gift with your first order using exclusive code FRED, capital F-R-E-D, at viahemp.com. Plus, enjoy free shipping on orders over $100. That's viahemp.com. Or you can look right here on the banner on our website, on our video. And of course, right in the description of our videos. I am so lucky to have these products in my life and so lucky to have Via Hemp as a sponsor for On Democracy. Check them out. You won't regret it, I promise. You guys, I finally did it. I'm back in my groove, hitting the trails, hiking, walking again. After a very tough 2024, I've committed to healthier lifestyle, and that includes healthier eating habits that last with real clean foods. Now, I'm glad that Green Chef makes it easy with recipes that are curated for a variety of lifestyles and dietary needs like mine. I've struggled for years to maintain and create healthy eating habits. I admit that freely. I'm not proud of it, but here we are. I'm not getting any younger. Fortunately, Green Chef makes it easy with dietitian-developed recipe options featuring fresh, organic, and quality whole foods delivered to my door each week. The key for me is that I stay on track even on my busiest days with easy-to-make foods that I can quickly prepare and get moving. Green Chef comes with pre-made sauces, pre-proportioned ingredients. There's less prep, less mess, and more time to savor what really are, honestly, delicious restaurant-quality meals. Honestly, I couldn't ask for an easier meal service that fits better into my busy lifestyle and helps me to be healthier. Green Chef meals help me include healthy eating into my time crunch with fresh, healthy options that are quick to prepare. I can get food and keep moving through my busy day. Now, you can thrive all year with clean, easy meals from Green Chef. Just go to greenchef.com/FredFree and use code FredFree to get started with free salads for 2 months plus 50% off your first box. I've got that in the screen right there. That's greenchef.com/FredFree. Use code FredFree to get started with free salads for 2 months plus 50% off your first box. That's Green Chef. Honestly, you guys, I love it. It's the #1 meal kit for eating well. Thanks. And we're back. So you also reported others. I woke up this morning to an NPR story. I think I sent it to you. Talk about how New Hampshire, of course, just passed a fairly strict voting rights law, voting ID law. It first was tested just this week in municipal elections, and it went kind of like we thought it would, right? Like women whose names didn't match their birth certificates got sent home, right? So, which echoes the SAVE Act, right? So you as a voting rights guy, did you see this? And what's your thoughts on this? I mean, is it exactly what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big problem that is bubbling up right now, because what Republicans want to do is they want to pass proof of citizenship on a national level. And people say, what's the big deal? Shouldn't only American citizens register to vote and vote in American elections? And the answer is yes, and that is currently the law. But what they want to do is they want to make you show your passport or your birth certificate to be able to register to vote. And right now in most states, you use your driver's license or other forms of identification to do that. Most people don't carry around their passports or their birth certificates. So there's a few major problems with this. One is that people don't carry around passports or birth certificates when they want to register to vote or in their everyday lives. Some people don't have access to these documents. A lot of Americans don't have passports. There was a study by the Brennan Center for Justice that found that 9%